Have you ever done everything right and still felt completely lost? You followed the instructions, played by the rules, checked all the boxes. You did what they said would make you happy. You worked hard. You stayed out of trouble. You were kind, responsible, reliable. You became everything the world told you to become. And still, some nights, you lie in bed with a quiet ache in your chest. Not the kind of pain you cry about. The kind that just lingers. The kind that whispers, "This isn't it. This isn't me." It's confusing, isn't it? Because if you're not supposed to feel this way after doing everything right, when are you supposed to feel whole? Let's pause here. This is where many people either numb themselves with noise and distraction, or start to believe they're broken. But maybe, and hear this gently, you're not broken. You're just misaligned. Let's talk about that. We grow up being handed invisible maps. Maps made by people who meant well. Parents, teachers, mentors. They draw the roads. Go to school, get the job, stay polite, earn the check, don't cause waves, smile often, work hard. And many of us follow those roads perfectly, but never stop to ask if they actually lead to where we want to go. It's like waking up one day in a city you never meant to visit, wearing clothes that don't fit, speaking words that don't sound like your voice. It doesn't mean you've failed. It means you've been living someone else's definition of success. Take this simple example. Imagine someone who always dreamed of working with their hands, building, creating, making. But life told them to sit behind a desk. It was safer, more successful. So they did. Now, years later, they have the job, the title, the benefits. But every morning feels like a small betrayal. And they don't know why they feel so off. Until they remember, they never wanted this in the first place. That's the pain of misalignment. It doesn't scream. It whispers. And sometimes the whisper gets louder the more you succeed. Here's the hard truth that almost no one says out loud. Success, at least the kind that's built on someone else's dream, won't heal the ache of disconnection. You can achieve all the right things in the wrong direction. And the further you go, the heavier it feels. Not because you're weak, but because deep down your soul is asking, is this really my path? Now, let's be honest. It's terrifying to question everything you've built. You might ask, if I stop now, what if it's too late to start over? But here's something that might bring you peace. Realignment is always an option. It doesn't mean throwing everything away. It means beginning to reconnect, piece by piece, with who you are beneath the roles you play. And maybe that's why you feel lost. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you've drifted too far from yourself. And now your soul is gently tapping on the door, saying, "Hey, are you still in there?" So let's say you've recognized it. That quiet misalignment. That strange ache that doesn't go away, even when you do everything right. Now what? What happens when you start noticing the cracks? But the world keeps applauding your ability to pretend they're not there? That's the second layer of the problem. The disconnection between your inner truth and your outer performance. You smile at the meetings. You reply, "I'm good," when people ask how you are. You even post the right pictures. The filtered ones. The ones where your eyes smile, even if your chest is heavy. But deep down, you feel like you're performing a version of yourself. Like you're playing a character in a life that used to make sense, and now doesn't. It's exhausting, isn't it? Carrying the weight of two lives. The one you live on the outside, and the one you feel, silently, on the inside. It's no wonder you feel lost. You're constantly translating yourself, trying to fit your soul into a language that was never yours. Let's pause again, gently. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about waking up to the places where your truth has been quietly muted. Maybe you stayed in the relationship because it looked good on paper. Maybe you chose the job that made your parents proud, but left you drained. Maybe you kept showing up to a life that got you applause, but never peace. That's not failure. That's survival. And survival deserves respect. Because at the time, it was the best you could do with what you had. But here's the truth you might need now. You don't have to keep living a version of yourself that you've outgrown. Let me give you a real-world metaphor. Imagine wearing a jacket that used to fit perfectly. Over time, you grow. Not just physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. But you keep wearing the same jacket. It starts to feel tight in the shoulders. The sleeves don't reach your wrists. But you keep it on, because people complimented it once. Because they said it looked good on you. But deep down, it doesn't fit anymore. That's your life, sometimes. And it's okay to outgrow things. It's okay to outgrow versions of yourself. So what do you do when you realize you've been living someone else's life? That's where the realign journey begins. But, and this is important, you don't fix that kind of disconnection with a sudden life overhaul. You don't need to disappear, move away, or burn everything to the ground. What you need is to begin listening again. Start small. Ask questions like, what actually makes me feel alive? When do I feel most like myself? If I could create a day that felt meaningful, what would it look like? Not the perfect day. Not the successful day. The real one. Maybe it's quiet. Maybe it's messy. Maybe no one claps for it. But maybe that's where you begin to feel like yourself again. Let me be clear. You can still have responsibilities. You can still keep the job, take care of your family, do what needs to be done. But in the middle of all that, you can start building a bridge back to yourself. Because feeling lost doesn't always mean you're in the wrong place. Sometimes, it just means you've forgotten how to listen. And listening takes courage. Because when you slow down enough to hear your truth, you can't pretend it doesn't matter anymore. You matter. Not just the version of you that gets things done, but the version of you that aches for something real, something meaningful, something true. And no, you don't need to have the full answer yet. You just need to stop ignoring the question. Let's be honest. There's no GPS for finding yourself. No step-by-step map. No exact formula. Because the journey back to who you are isn't about doing more. It's about doing differently. It's about choosing presence over perfection, curiosity over control, honesty over performance, and most of all, alignment over approval. Let me tell you something simple but powerful. You don't have to fix your whole life to begin healing. You just need one thread of truth to start pulling. Maybe it's 5 minutes in silence. Maybe it's writing down how you actually feel, without editing. Maybe it's saying no, just once, to something that drains you. Those are not small things. Those are acts of rebellion, acts of realignment. Because when you stop betraying yourself in tiny ways every day, you begin remembering who you are in the big ways. There's this idea that becoming your true self is some massive transformation, a dramatic before and after. But more often, it's subtle, it's slow, it's sacred. It's in the moment you walk away from a conversation that no longer feeds your spirit. It's in the breath you take before saying yes to something you don't want. It's in the quiet knowing, I don't have to keep proving myself to be enough. You see, the version of you that feels lost, they're not failing. They're just remembering. Remembering what joy felt like before it was tied to achievement. Remembering what peace felt like before it was buried under productivity. Remembering the sound of your own voice before it was told to be quieter, nicer, smaller. So what if being lost isn't a sign that you're off track, but an invitation to come home? Let me offer you this. If you feel like you've drifted, if your heart feels hollow in a life that looks full, you're not alone. In fact, you're exactly where the realign journey begins. Not the journey of performance, but the journey of becoming. Not the chase to impress, but the quiet path of reconnecting. So here's your reminder. You are not too far gone. You are not behind. You are not broken beyond repair. You are in a season of becoming. And becoming is rarely neat, but always meaningful. Let the questions guide you. Let your discomfort teach you. Let your ache become your compass. Because sometimes, the feeling of being lost is what finally leads you to the truth you've been avoiding. And the truth is, You don't need to become someone else. You just need to remember the parts of you that got buried under the pressure to get it right. You were never meant to just survive. You were meant to live with depth, with truth, with alignment, with peace. And maybe that starts today. Not with answers, but with permission. Permission to slow down, to feel, to be honest, to begin again. Not because you failed, but because you're ready to finally live in a way that feels like you.